Alright, let's get back into the tests. As you see, I kind of went full screen with the PowerPoint just because I figured maybe at this point you guys might not be able to see it as clearly as I thought you might be able to. So, we left off with Fetch the Room. So, believing in oneself, that could be a test too, testing your own self-worth and how you feel about it. And a lot of times when it's a coming-of-age story, believing in oneself is part of that journey. Facing the enemy, obviously that's a major test, kind of like the final test. Showing compassion, showing courage, or using wisdom. Okay, so enemies. The trees, those are the trees that were alive and wouldn't give her and her friends apples, and so they were really angry and started throwing apples at them. One of my favorite parts of the film. I find it hilarious. So that's an enemy. The Wicked Witch of the West is an obvious enemy. That green lady right there, her flying monkeys. The wizard, yeah, he could be considered an enemy of sorts because he sends her to do a task for him that could get her killed. So that's where that line between mentor and enemy kind of blurs. And you'll see that in literature a lot too, that sometimes a mentor character can kind of turn into an enemy or vice versa. Or kind of be a little bit of both. That's where that gray area is. And then herself. You can be your own worst enemy, especially when you're causing yourself issues through personality traits, like being too stubborn or being afraid. And then friends. Glinda, the Good Witch, you can't really see her as an enemy in any sorts, pretty much, because she's the Good Witch. She leads her on her way to see the wizard. The Scarecrow, obviously, right here, her first friend that she meets, who wants a brain. The Tin Man, who wants a heart, that's who she meets second. And then the Lion, the Cowardly Lion, who she meets last. The Wizard could be seen as a friend, that's the Wiz. Whoever created this PowerPoint, I guess, got sick of typing out words. Whatever. So yeah, the wizard could be considered a friend as well, because he does eventually, the man behind the curtain who's pretending to be this great wizard, helps her get home, or offers to get her home eventually, and he kind of turns out to be kind of a good guy in the end. The Munchkins that you see when you first get into this new world of color, and the Munchkins kind of encourage her, along with Glinda, to go on her adventure. The people of Oz, who once she shows up in Oz and they get there, they get them all cleaned up and all nice looking before they meet the wizard. Toto, of course, is her faithful animal companion. And then the Witch's Guard, who actually, that sounds kind of weird, but once she vanquishes the Wicked Witch of the West by throwing a pot of water on her, or a bucket of water on her, the guards are like, oh, thank goodness she's been, a dictator to us forever. Thank you for saving us from her. So they kind of become her friends as well. So the next step is approaching the innermost cave. The hero comes at last to the edge of a dangerous place where the object of the quest is hidden. It's the most dangerous spot in the special world, the inmost cave. So the inmost cave is the most dangerous spot in the special world that they have entered. When the hero enters, he or she will cross the second major threshold. Often heroes pause to prepare, plan, scheme, and approach. So this is when they're in the haunted forest, right before they go to the witch's castle. So they're sent to this witch's castle, which is the inmost cave. It's the most dangerous part of Oz. So they're going into this, and right before that, they're hiding in the haunted forest right out there, outside the castle. And the Tin Man, Scarecrow, and the Cowardly Lion are all planning on how to approach this and prepare to attack and get into the castle that is heavily guarded. Then the ordeal. The hero hits bottom in a direct confrontation with his or her fear, danger. He or she meets the hostile force. It is a dark, tense moment. We are left wondering whether the hero will survive. So she's facing the witch. She's thinking, oh, I can't do this. I'm in danger. I could die. This witch is going to kill me. So we're thinking, even the audience is questioning, will the hero survive this? So Dorothy reacts. Her learned courage, her compassion of her friends, for her friends, and then her wisdom, which, to be fair, is mostly dumb luck, allows her to defeat her enemy. And her dumb luck being that she just kind of tosses the water onto the witch and doesn't know how the witch is going to react to it, and the witch ends up melting. It's like, oh, okay, that's one way to defeat an evil person. Apparently water is bad for witches in Oz. Who knew? So dumb luck. And then 9, the reward. Having survived death, the hero has a reason to celebrate. The hero now takes possession of the treasure he or she has been seeking. It can be a magic sword, the guy or girl, if it's like a love story. It can be an experience and knowledge that leads to better understanding and a reconciliation with hostile forces. So that can kind of be like the end of a war, like they won the major battle, and now their world can be happier. Or experience and knowledge can be kind of one of those coming of age stories where they have made that journey sort of into adulthood or young adulthood through their experiences through the story. So it's a way of healing a wounded soul, wounded land. It's what they get for doing and defeating the major issue. And let's escape here. We're going to skip that part and just, because I don't think that has... Alright, step 10, the road back. So, the road back meaning the road back to their ordinary world. The hero isn't out of the woods quite yet. He or she begins to deal with the consequences of confronting the dark forces of the ordeal. If reconciliation has not taken place, the hostile forces may continue to pursue the hero on the road back. And the hero has decided to return to the ordinary world if he or she can. So, Dorothy's new obstacles. She confronts the wizard, and she's like, okay, here's the broom, I got it for you, I killed the witch. And then the broom, he's like, it's broken, it's all burnt up, it's gross. And so that kind of leads her and her friends to, she's like crying, and she's upset because he's refusing to take her home now and get her home. And her friends start standing up for her, and she starts telling this, her sad story about really needing to get home. And finally, it breaks the wizard, and he's revealed from behind the curtain and whatnot. So she's like, well, I have a hot air balloon. Right, that's how I got here. I got here from Omaha. Apparently you can get to Oz from Omaha via State Fair balloon here. Hot air balloon. So they get into the hot air balloon ride, but then it takes off before she can get into it, so that's a new obstacle. So suddenly she can't go home because the air balloon can't be landed, and it takes off without her, accidentally. So finally she goes into the leap of faith, which is the next thing, which is clicking her heels 3 times to get home, which Glinda tells her to do. So that can be kind of part of the resurrection as well. The hero who has been to the depths needs to be reborn or cleansed, changed for the better, before returning to the ordinary world. There may be one more deathly encounter, deathly. The hero is transformed by these encounters and is reborn or resurrected. So this can be considered that clicking her heels 3 times together and saying there's no place like home, there's no place like home, there's no place like home. And it's a leap of faith, but it's also a sort of resurrection. It's her final part of her journey where she has to trust and have courage that this is going to get her home. And then Dorothy awakens. While it's not life-threatening, it does return her to her ordinary life. So, like I was saying, for the leap of faith, she clicks her heels 3 times. She has learned to listen to the wisdom of friends and family. And as Glinda tells Dorothy, the road home was always within herself, but she wasn't ready to believe in herself. So, Glinda pretty much says, hey, you could have always gone home. It was always within you. you could have always done it by yourself. So that kind of adds to the theme of the story in the fact that Dorothy, it was a coming of age story. It was all about believing in herself. So Return with Elixir. The hero returns to the ordinary world, but the journey is meaningless unless he or she brings back some elixir, treasure, or lesson from the special world. It could be anything valuable, a magic potion with the power to heal, gold, or knowledge and experience that could be useful to the community someday. So what is was Dorothy's elixir? This is where sometimes stories, you have to kind of have a stretch of the imagination, because sometimes there is actually an elixir that, like a magical potion or gold or knowledge and experience. This one's a little bit of stretch for this. Like I said, not all stories go through every single step of the hero's journey, but the author of this made a really good point that her hero's journey, or her elixir that she got from her hero's journey, has a lot to do with the things she learned from her friends that she made. So compassion from the Tin Man, straw from the straw man or the scarecrow, she learned wisdom. From the Cowardly Lion, she learned courage, the wizard, tenacity, and Glinda, belief in oneself. So that is the end of that slideshow. We're getting to the 30-minute mark, so while I was going to start, I was going to start the rest of this, I am just going to actually, let me see. I'm going to add another video, which I know you guys are super excited about. But this one should be much shorter for this reading because these two texts are really short. I just want to give you a mentor text, and then these are the links that give you, if you click into it, here's a list and links of stories that you can use for your Unit 2 project. So I'm going to stop this recording and move on to part 3 of this video, or of this day, I guess. And then we will be done for today, and then tomorrow can be more of a fun day of you guys just watching the first part of Iron Man, because that's going to be our first movie, rather. And then that'll be more fun and just taking notes on it. So we'll get all this intro out of the way today and have a more fun day for the rest of the week. Okay? Okay. So now we'll go to part 3, please.